I call on Jamie Greene to be followed by Tom Arthur.
Presiding Officer, the UN's International Migrant Day on December 18th is observed to recognise the efforts, contributions and the rights of migrants worldwide. But as the Migration Observatory of the University of Oxford pointed out in its briefing, there is no single definition for what a person, what type of person makes a migrant. To a researcher, a migrant may be one type of person, to a lawyer another, and clearly to a politician another. Which is why I think in debates like this we must be very careful not to throw terms like immigrant, refugee, migrant or asylum seeker around as if each word is entirely interchangeable with the other. I think the... Pardon? Is that an intervention? Or? I think the government's motion today, willing to take it.
Claire Adamson.
Just don't recognise that mix-up, if you like, that distinction on these benches, and certainly not from the Labour benches, from the contributions I've heard today.
Jamie Greene.
I think my point is entirely proved by the wording of the government's motion. There's very little to disagree in, actually, I'll be honest with you, but it is very jumbled in the way that it interchanges migrants, immigrants, economic migration and refugees. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail, if you would let me. What is a migrant? A migrant can be someone who's displaced from their home country due to poverty and conflict. And I think James Dornan actually painted a very eloquent picture of that tragic circumstance. But there are also migrants who choose to move from one country to another to create a better life for their families. The generations of my own family left Scotland and moved to Canada to seek a better life, and the majority of them are still there. They weren't escaping or fleeing from war, but they were wanting a better life, an economic life for their children. So when we discuss migration in Scotland, and indeed the UK, I think we must first agree upon some common principles for this discussion. Scotland is a welcoming country, and I'm proud of the welcome that we have given migrants arriving here in crises. No one is disputing that. But there is no doubt that there is a need for economic migration into Scotland across all skill levels, and no one on these benches is disputing that either. But more importantly, Presiding Officer, let's not confuse the challenges of welcoming refugees into society to the genuine need to recruit the best talent from anywhere in the globe. By way of example, I spoke to a tech business in Edinburgh recently that was struggling to recruit software engineers and developers, most of them from India, under the current visa system. In the absence of enough suitably skilled workers, that MD is forced to recruit from afar if he wants his business to grow. And from personal experience, I know what it feels like to have to leave your home, job, friends and partner behind when your visa runs out. After a year in Australia, the government there decided that I did not have the skill set that they needed at that point in time to allow me to stay in their country. And it was tough to leave. But in the passage of time, I've come to respect their decision and their system. So I'm not here to discuss the merits of one immigration system over another, but I make this point to demonstrate that we as a Parliament should be having a grown-up debate about the skills we need as a country and how we manage inward migration. I think Pauline McNeill made a very valid contribution in that about social cohesion, and it's a problem that's not just unique to Scotland. The government motion also talks about refugees, a very different type of migrant. When it comes to forced migration, conflict, climate change and poverty have left to mobility in unprecedented numbers over the last decade. And whilst there is always more we can do, I'm proud that as a wealthy country, the UK is the world's second largest bilateral aid donor after the USA. I'm also very proud that British taxpayers' money is providing vital food, shelter, water and medicine for many hundreds of thousands of people the world over. Our amendment today,
Ross Greer.
I thank the member for taking an intervention. I'm wondering if he's proud that his party last week hosted a reception in this Parliament for the manufacturers of the bombs that are being dropped on these countries that force people into seeking refuge here in Europe.
Jamie Greene.
It's absolutely nothing to do with the debate today, I'd say to the member, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't only Conservative MSPs who maybe attended that event, so he's welcome to make his own political point if he wants to. I am proud of the contribution that the UK makes to looking after people across the world. Our amendment notes that, and I would actually like to think that other members in this chamber accepted that as well. But in Scotland, it's important we note that charities, volunteer organisations and faith groups in particular are also playing a vital role to help migrants as they arrive in Scotland. In Inverurie, the Amal group brings together refugees with local people. They sit over traditional Arabic food and coffee and chat. In Pitlochry, local people are raising money for Médecins Sans Frontières and the Red Cross. The Church of Scotland is giving backpacks to refugee school children. In Glasgow, volunteers are delivering refugee welcome packs throughout December and January of this year. And their motto is, we're all for somewhere. Presiding officer, we all wish to achieve migration policies which are fair and effective, which protect those in need, but also ensure that Scotland is a prosperous place to live. Some people simply choose to make a better life for themselves in Britain, simply as many Brits move abroad to do the same. So whether or not you agree or disagree with the decision to leave the EU, we should be using this opportunity to set the tone of this debate with pragmatic ideas. And we do face demographic challenges in this country, like an ageing population and the skills shortages. We should work together towards a migration system that attracts the skills we need from every part of the world on our terms. Wanting more control does not make us less humanitarian or any less outward-looking. So, in conclusion, I give my humble thanks to the migrants that have given so much to Scotland, whilst also thanking the many countries that have given Scottish migrants a home over the years. After all, we are all for somewhere.